Going to start our exponents unit. And the first thing we're going to do is multiply them and just use our rules. So the first rule that you need to know is anything to the 0 power is 1. So you can just mark that out. So we had x to the 0, we can just mark that out. 1 times anything is itself, so it doesn't really do anything. The second thing is you're going to multiply all the numbers together. And the third thing is you're going to add the powers. So on number 1, I marked out x to the 0 because it causes a 1. The only number that you have is a 4. And then with everything else, you have a total of 4 y's. And that's literally all you do. Okay. We're going to just work with the positive exponents. So I'm going to skip around just a little bit. So 2, 3, and 4 have negative exponents. So we're going to move off of that. We're going to look at number 5. Anything to the 0 power is 1, so we can mark it out. The only number we have is a 4, so we're just going to write it down. And then you add how many u's you have. So I have 2 plus 3 is 5 total u's. Number 6. You don't have any zeros, so there's nothing to mark out. Start with your numbers. 3 times 2 is 6. And then you have u's and v's this time, so you're just going to do the total. So with u's, I only have 2 of them total. And then with v's, I have 2 here and 3 here, which makes a total of 5. What can I do on number 7? Oh, let's not do number 7. Hold on, it's got negative exponents. Let's find some without negatives. So let's look at 13. Look at 13. So this one's only a little different because the 0 is on the outside. All of this is to the 0 power. What did I tell you? 0 power is, what's the 0 power? Anything to the 0 power is 1. So all of this to the 0 power gives you 1. All right, we'll come back to these. Let's look at our negative exponents. So if we have negative exponents, I'm going to say that they go to the bottom, which means they're going to make a fraction. They go to the bottom. So I'm actually going to start with number 3. I want you to look at number 3. We have a 0, so that'll mark out. This negative exponent, we're going to make a divide bar, so a fraction. And we're going to move it to the bottom and make it positive. So then that'll cancel out. Now, anything the same on the top and the bottom, we can mark out. And here's what I mean by that. Can you take your hat off, please? We have 4 x's on the top. We have 2 on the bottom. Anything that's the same on the top and the bottom, we can mark out. And then just add your total x's. We just have 2, and they're on the top, so it's going to look like this, no fraction. Say what? 1, 2 x's on the top. So we had 4 on the top, so I wrote it out as 4 x's. We had 2 on the bottom because we changed this to the bottom and made it positive, and then we marked it out. All right. So on this one, we have some negatives, so they're going to go to the bottom. So the 4, the x, and the y can stay on the top. We're going to switch x to the 4th and y to the 4th to the bottom. I'm going to rewrite it so that you can see it. 4 x's on the top, 4 y's on the bottom. If it's the same on the top and the bottom, we're going to mark it out. We can only mark 1 and 1. You can't mark like 3 and 1. The only thing I left on top was a 4. On the bottom, what did I leave? 3 x's and 3 y's. All right, look at number 4. We're just going to go across and move what we need to. So I'm going to go ahead and make a big divide bar. The 3 stays on the top because it's positive. It doesn't have a power, so it just stays. Your numbers are typically going to stay. This x to the -2, we're going to move to the bottom and make it a +2. This y to the 3rd is positive. It's going to stay on the top. The x squared is positive. It's going to stay on the top. Y to the -3 is going to go to the bottom and become positive. If you can already see it to mark it out, go ahead and do that. If you can't, write it out. I have 3 y's on top and 2 x's. On the bottom, I have 3 y's and 2 x's. You can mark everything out that's the same on the top and the bottom. And the only thing we have left is a 3. Any questions so far? We'll get number 7. I'm going to go ahead and make my divide bar. The 4 is fine where it's at. X to the 3rd is positive. It'll stay. What do I do to the 0? Mark it out. The 2 is fine on the top. The x squared has to go to the bottom to make it positive. And y to the 3rd on top. Right. We have 4 times 2, which is 8. We have 3 x's and 3 y's. And 2 x's on the bottom. We're going to mark them out. We're left with 8x and 2 y's on the top, nothing on the bottom. On the next one, your 2 is fine. We have a to the -3. It's going to go to the bottom and become a +3. Your 4 is fine. Your a squared is fine. And your b marks out. So on the top, we have 8 and 2 a's. On the bottom, we have 3 a's. Mark out what's the same on the top and the bottom, and then write what's left over, an 8 on top and an A on the bottom. Any questions? All right, next one. Let me minimize this so you guys can see it. All right, same thing on this one. Make your bar. 3 is good. Y to the 4th on the bottom. 3 on the top. X to the 0 cancels. Y to the 4th on top. If you can already see that it's y to the 4th and y to the 4th, you don't have to write it out, just mark it out. And then what's 3 times 3? 9. 9. 3 times 3 is 9. All right, look at your next one. 4 is going to stay on top. U to the 3rd is going to go to the bottom. V to the 3rd is going to stay on top. 2 will stay on top. V will stay on top. U to the 4th on the bottom. Four times 2 is 8 on the top and 4 V's. On the bottom, 3 plus 4, sorry, that should be U, is 7 U's. There's no letters the same on the top and the bottom, so that's as good as it gets. All right, so the next ones just have powers, and all you're going to do is whatever power it has, that's how many times you write it. So this says write 2 times. Okay. So what that really means is x to the negative 3rd, y to the 4th, x to the negative 3rd, y to the 4th. Write 2 times. Make your divide bar. X to the negative 3 goes on the bottom, becomes positive. Y to the 4th on the top. X to the negative 3 goes on the bottom. Y to the 4th on top. There's nothing the same on the top and the bottom, so we just squish them together. We have 4 plus 4 is 8 Y's. 3 plus 3 is 6 X's. So what does the next one tell you to do with a 4 up top? Write it 4 times. So 4x squared, y to the negative 2, 4x squared, y to the negative 2, 4x squared, y to the negative 2, 4x squared, y to the negative 2. We're going to do it. So the 4x squared goes on the top, the y squared goes on the bottom. And you're going to do that 4 times. $256. So 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 is 256. And there's a total of 2, 4, 6, 8 X's. And on the bottom, 2, 4, 6, 8 Y's. Perfect. I'm going to move down to 15 and I'll come back to 14 and 16, okay? 15 says write it twice. So 3BA to the 4th, 3BA to the 4th. Draw your bar. 3 and B stay on top. A to the 4th stays on the top. There are no negatives. B, A to the 4th. Multiply them together. 3 times 3 is 9. There are 2 B's and 8 A's. Your alphabet, it may put it in alphabetical order. just to let you know if it's multiple choice. I think EDO will take anything. I don't know, our assignment is not on EDO, but just to let you know. What happens? So this was a positive 2 and they were all on top, right? So we'd write it 3 times, but it goes on the bottom. Okay, so this is what we would have. We're going to have 2yx to the negative 2, 2yx to the negative 2, and 2yx to the negative 2 would go on the bottom. But now we still have negative exponents. You guys see that? And we don't work with negative exponents. So if they're in the bottom, what do you think we're going to do to them? Move them to the top. So this x squared is going to go up here and mark out. This one is going to go up here and mark out. And this one is going up here to mark out. On the top, I have 2, 4, 6 x's. On the bottom, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And I have 3 y's on the bottom. And that's it. So on 16, we have the same thing. We have another negative 3. So we draw our bar. They're all going to go on the bottom. So if you notice, there's nothing on top. Does everybody see that? We have to put something up there. So we put a 1. Okay, remember a 1 doesn't really do anything, but it shows that it's a fraction. And then we just clean it up. 1 on top. 1, 2, 3 A's. 2, 4, 6 B's. And that's it. Any questions? Everybody good? All right. This says write it 4 times. You can either write it out 4 times, it doesn't matter. So 2x to the negative 3, y to the 4th, 2x to the negative 3, y to the 4th, 2x to the negative 3, y to the 4th. If it's positive, it stays on top. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, all of our 2's. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2, I'm going to go ahead and put it together to be 16. All of our y's are positive, so add them together. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12, plus 4 is 16. And then all of your negative 3's are going to go on the bottom, but they're going to be positive. So 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9, plus 3 is 12. So you don't have to write it out as many times as if you can do it from there. Okay. This one says x to the 4th twice, so we'll write it twice. So how many x's total do I have?
8.
That's it. That's all you do. All right. On the next one, 3x to the 4th, y to the negative 1. Since we have some negatives, I'm going to draw that bar. 3 times 3 is 9. 8 x's. And then where do your y's go? And they're perfect. And there are 2 of them and they go on the bottom. Perfect. Write it twice, x to the 3rd, y to the 4th, 2 times. There's no negatives, so we don't need to make the bar. We just put them together. How many total x's do you have? How many total Ys? There you go. All right, and we've already worked on 21 through 30. We're still going to do some, but just to remind you how to do it. All right, if it's the same on the top and the bottom, we're going to mark it out. If it's a 0, we're going to mark it out. So x to the 0, we're going to mark that out. We have 3 Ys on the top and a 3 times Y on the bottom. If it is the same on the top and the bottom, we can mark it out. So we have 2 Ys on the top and a 3 on the bottom. That's it. All right, look at 22. What do I need to do before I even start? So I'm going to put that Y to the 4th on the top. What else? Mark out the X. There's nothing the same on the top and the bottom, so I'm just squishing it together. How many total Ys on the top? 2 Y to the 8, and on the bottom, just a 3. We're going to move the negative to the bottom. Since we left nothing on top, what should it be? Nope. What's on top if I mark everything out? It's still got to be a fraction, a 1. So if I mark everything out, it becomes a 1. And I just put it in order. 3u to the 4th and b. As long as they're all down there, it doesn't matter what order you put them in. Okay. On the next one, what can I do?
You're gonna mark out the Y here, and then you're gonna have to add, and then put the Y to the top, and you get Y to the
All right, on the top, I have Y to the 4th. On the bottom, I just have a 4. There's nothing that we can mark out. Nothing the same on the top and the bottom. All right, for the next one, I don't have any zeros or negatives, so I'm going to write it out. On the top, I have 2 and 3 Ys. On the bottom, I have a 3, a Y, and 4 X's. We have a Y on the top and the bottom, so we're going to mark that out. Same thing with the next one. Do you see anything the same on the top and the bottom already? Just work with the numbers, just the 2, right? Just the 2. What do we do with this x to the 0? If there's nothing else the same on the top and the bottom, we just write what we have, which is x to the 3rd and y squared. Okay. For 27, there's nothing to mark out. We have 3 A's, 4 B's. On the bottom, 2 A's and 3 B's. Mark out what you can. And I'm left with A and B on top, and that's it. $28. Anything you can go ahead and mark out you want to. So I already see a 4, and I see x to the 0 that can mark out. I have 4 x's on top. What happens to this y to the negative 2? So that means I'm going to have 2 on the bottom and then 4 on the top. They switch places. I have a y on the top and the bottom. I have a y on the top and the bottom. So my bottom is completely gone. And what do I have left on the top? 4 x's and 2 y's. That's it. All right, 29. What can I do? Mark out the zeros. Now, one we haven't had, what is 4 divided by 2? So it just makes a 2 on top and an m to the third. "30," you can mark the 3's out. You can mark y to the 0 out. You're going to take those 2 x's and put them on the bottom. So that takes care of that. The y is going to stay on the bottom. And this 1x is going to go to the top. You have the same on the top and the bottom. You can mark it out. Since I don't have anything on the top, what do I leave up there? A 1. And on the bottom, I just have x and y. Any questions? Is everybody good? All right. So then in your packet that I just gave you, you have your quiz for today. You can put that, like finish it on paper and then put it into Canvas. Those of you at home, you'll just have to open up that quiz and then write your answers down and then transfer them into Canvas, just like we were doing last week. I'm going to stop sharing and stop recording.